you talk to these two?
I was in the Army. Actually, he was here too. But
I saw in the paper you were in Vietnam.
Yeah. Apparently, yeah. Apparently, I was in Vietnam.
Gets around.
I was killed there. I saw another.
I guess you look too young to be Korea.
Oh yeah, I was in Korea, but
It's kind of confusing, really.
Yeah.
I saw one the other day. I interviewed this and it said that I was a sniper in Vietnam.
Wow.
Really?
Cool.
Interesting. I don't remember being there. I was in Korea, but okay.
That's okay.
So yeah, where the band?
Long range.
The worst thing I ever did was eat dog.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Well,
that 6 cases of gonorrhea. You guys, the band when I was in the Army in '71 to '74, this guy and that guy had a band called Sagebrush Boogie playing through the high school crowd and stuff, and then hooked up with them, and that's where the story begins between these two areas.
And I worked at Discount Records in Preston Center, and Mike came in one night, and what was I playing?
We started talking, and I was with Big State Records distributing, and you were at the retail end. But anyway, we got to talking, and the Raspberries had an album out. We're just talking about stuff, and like the Raspberries were like considered uncool, totally uncool, you know.
Yeah, bubblegum.
Yeah, bubblegum. And so you and I started talking about the Raspberries, and we both agreed they were really cool, you know.
A great rock band.
Yeah, and so we were like going, oh, okay, so here's somebody we have some common ground with, you know. And Carl and I had been playing for a couple of years, and we really were looking for somebody who could really front the band, you know, and you know, and represent what we were wanting to do, which, you know, of course we didn't know what it was, you know, like, you know, at that point it was sort of like
we do now.
Sort of like the '60s nugget sort of thing. Yeah, we still don't know, do we?
So, I got a question in that area. Now, when was the Idiots? Because that's when I first saw this going on. And that was Philip Riviere and some of the guys, right?
Well, we had Diamonds Forever was a band we had with me and Tex and Carl, and we did that for a while, and that was cool. And then for whatever reason, you know, that kind of split up after a year or so. That was in '73, and then in '74 we had the Idiots, and with some other guys in Dallas, and
guys that became the Toys.
which sort of kind of we did that for a while, and then the band kind of divided.
What year was this?
That was in '74.
Yeah, because I was still in the Army. I remember coming home on leave and, you know, had like a pierced ear. It was just the weirdest thing ever. And went and saw y'all practicing at David Faulkner's house on Avondale. And he was on the ground and has already smacked himself in the mouth when the microphone was bleeding in practice. And I remember going like, okay, this is a different thing. This is like, and this is way, way, way back, you know, '74. Yeah, and it's like, I remember, that was my introduction. Faulkner, just like, I remember you saying Faulkner showed up, is looking like he was always decked out, and you go, really, to show up for an audition? And no, he just dresses that way all the time. But yeah, so you went from the Idiots to...
Well, and then by the end of the year, by late '74, you were out of the Army. So then you got, you know, and Carl, you know, kind of got back in the picture, started working, and so we had a band called The End, where we played in late '74. We played a New Year's Eve party at the roller rink in Denton.
Spinning Wheels Roller Rink.
Spinning Wheels Roller Rink, because I remember that was kind of fun, and that was cool, but it still wasn't quite the right mix of people, you know. And
Faulkner was playing bass then.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, and so he kind of went off and did the Toys, and then we continued on from there as the Nervebreakers, basically.
Yeah, well, no, basically, so that's when I started trying to make A-Bomb with the guys from college. And you guys are doing Mr. Nervous Breakdown.
Yeah.
With Pierre Thompson.
Well, Walter was in there somewhere.
And Walter Ray Brock.
Farfisa.
Yeah, so it's like Walter playing organ, and Pierre playing bass, Carl on drums, Tom singing, and you playing guitar.
Right.
That was Mr. Nervous Breakdown while I was trying to get my little band to go, and pretty much that floundered and sank and drowned from the get-go.
Well, I think you and I weren't quite right on the same page right then, because you'd been in the Army for a while, you know, and so, you know, before that, you know, we were on the same page musically, and then, you know, you went into the Army for a few years and kind of had your own thing going, which was probably more hard rock oriented than what we were kind of going. Yeah. We were kind of like doing.
And those Korean songs.
And Korean. You mean Vietnamese, right?
I mean, you were really heavily based on using the organ too, and it wasn't, you know, I mean, it was like more art rock at that point.
Yeah, well, I think we were really trying to do like what Nuggets kind of thing, you know, the punk kind of, you know, garage band with a 4-piece organ, and that's kind of what we were doing, but we didn't quite have it together. What were you thinking around that time?
Yeah.
Around the same thing?
Yeah, and like some of that Velvet Underground stuff, they had organ on it.
Right, that's right. Yeah, sure.
It was we were
Yeah.
kind of doing that.
Yeah, we were very
That angle on it.
Yeah, influenced by them a lot.
Yeah, so basically they came and got me to go meet them at the Taco Inn. Tom is a major taco aficionado, and I like the burritos a lot. They're gone now, by the way. And we decided I was going to be in a band, and I showed up with my Sound City stack and was like 10 times louder than everybody else. So there was a drastic change, and the music kind of got a little bit louder and more raunchy, and that was still with Pierre.
That's right. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
what-
because Walter Ray had left the band, and so
he went to public radio.
he went. Yeah, right. And so so we needed another person, and you were the obvious person. And plus, in the meantime, I think we'd all kind of got on the same page more musically. I mean, but I think kind of like maybe what you brought to the band a lot among other things was that you kind of helped me and Tex kind of have a sharper focus.
At the beginning of the Nervebreakers, what were the clubs that were around then?
There were none.
None that would hire us.
The clubs in
We
Dallas at
played
that
a bunch
time.
of them once.
Yeah, we played everywhere once.
The Binary Star once.
We played more than once there because that was one of my high school buddies' clubs. He owned that
really?
place. But yeah, I think we played there twice.
Mother Blues was a popular rock club.
Yeah, but we didn't get to play. We played just like, all those places
Salt
were
Springs.
Yes, yeah.
Roller Rings.
Yeah.
Foosball parlors.
Yeah.
When I first met these guys, it was like, or got to play with them. It was pretty much the band with Walter, and
What was the name of that place? The Showdown? Foosball?
The Hot Spot.
Oh, the Hot Spot.
And the
Irving.
Lightning something.
Irving, yeah.
What was the other one?
But they had
Thunderbolt. The Thunderbolt.
Well, they had like
Oh, that's what I was
That's
thinking.
another
for
one, yeah.
Halloween. For the Halloween show, we figured this thing out. I had an old '53 Esquire that looked like Bruce Springsteen's guitar that Mike had sold me, and I had a full beard at the time. Punk kids. We said, hey, we'll have this thing where you come out and you'll be Bruce Springsteen. I'm like, and today we sweated out in the streets. So we did Runaway. It's like we did that song. We started playing it. Tom comes in from the audience and stabs me to death. I had blood pack. What year was this?
75.
75. So I'm like spewing blood all over the audience as I hit the floor, and he takes over the band. And so I just laid there playing dead for a while before I finally got going. When people in the place just looked around, anyway, quarters. It's like, nobody gave a damn about our music at all.
Didn't appreciate our theater.
I'm telling you.
But then it's like,
Yeah, what was the hot stuff, the hot kind of stuff that people were playing around then? It was
Oh,
like Allman
progressive
Brothers,
country, yeah,
ZZ
progressive
Top
country,
was
yeah.
ZZ Top,
Yeah, kind
Yeah.
of real hard rock. blues
Steely
rock
Dan.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Boogie,
so
Boogie
that's
was
what was
big.
in
as
the-
far
in the
as
big-
far as the clubs that started
that was-
coming, it was like, what was that one we played with the theater?
I don't know.
Festival.
Oh yeah. Fist-
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
that was
Theater.
later on.
Yeah.
How much later was that? See, I get my time.
That was like 79.
Yeah, I made a play at that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's where I first met Platinum Paul. I remember seeing him out in the audience with his little bald head. Platinum Paul was a singer for the Scuds, one of the real true punk bands of Dallas, and he had
Of Mansfield.
yeah, he had leukemia. And he was dying.
He's one of the top
And
bands,
his dying wish to his family was that he wanted to be in a punk band. So Junior and Clyde and all his relatives got together and by God, we're gonna make him a punk band. So he had no hair, just completely bald, just completely no hair at all.
Was that from Chemo?
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's like I see him out in the audience. We're playing, and I see this guy in a leather jacket standing on his head with his feet flailing in the air. So I said, okay, this is interesting. And when we finally got to see them play, he wrote songs like Johnny Gape, Cowboy, Dead Dogs in the Street, other wonderful. That was a true punk band. Those guys were the greatest. But that was later. That was '79.
No, and then we played that place, Dr. Balls. That was by like Mockingbird and Harry Hines, and that was when the Scuds were in the audience, and all the hard rock redneck guys like wanted to beat us up, and the Scuds went out in the parking lot and fought with them and beat them up on the break.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. Yeah, because they were just like, they were redneck hillbillies too, by God, and they'd do it. It's just, when we got,
But they were the real deal, man.
Yes, they were.
Back then, Mansfield was, pretty rural.
and as far as a true punk band, that was the guys. God, I missed that guy. I had varying stories at the same time that he had died and he had got married and moved away. So I just kind of think of it as he just got married and moved away,
It's kind of like dying.
It's sort of like that. So yeah, as far as clubs go, when we finally started getting some clubs, Nervebreakers, DJs, Hot Club.
Fanny Ann's was the first
Fanny
place.
Ann's.
Oh yeah,
Started
yeah.
playing Fanny
The
Ann's.
infamous Fanny
We
Ann's.
probably played
Was it
30 or 40 nights there. We played a lot there.
30, 40 nights. It was every Tuesday night.
No, it's four
nights.
4 nights a week.
Seven
No,
nights.
it's like you play four sets a night, four sets a night, 4 nights a week or more. You know, yeah, you're getting tired.
We go to a rehearsal. We say, let's play this song, and we play it perfectly. And we go, well, that's the first time we played that in 30 years.
Yeah, but we played it worse. Well, now that was just like, and I remember around the same time when this started going, we were playing the Manhattan Clearinghouse, and I remember going to, and it's like I remember going. This is before Theatricality, before any of these places started up. It was a theater place upstairs. We got the greatest background track I have ever heard. This is great.
It's just like being in the city. Isn't it? It's really cool.
It is.
Yeah.
That was at Main Exposition.
Yeah, I remember going to like down the street, and so we'd heard of the Dot Vaith group, and I had made a shirt that said, "If you like peanut butter, you'll love the Dot Vaith." And I'd spelled it like 3 ways across the street because I didn't know how to spell it. Because we had heard their bass player James Flore, we didn't know the guys at all, had done his hair up in chunky peanut butter and poured a bottle of ketchup down his pants at one of their shows at Emma's Truck Stop, and knocked over the PA and got thrown out for their first gig. So we're going, okay, these are some real guys. So they're opening for us at Manhattan Clearinghouse.
The first time we met him was at the Ramones show.
Oh yeah, they're off stage. I remember Doug begging me for a pick. That's right.
Yeah, that's when we met all those guys from Tarrant County.
At the Electric
Dot
Bar.
Vaith and when the Ramones came and we
Yeah, all the
opened it up.
bands met at our shows in the audience, you know, pretty much.
I just remember it's like us walking down the street and we're just like so cool. You know, we're the big local stars, you know, and I can hear these guys playing. We're all walking down the street with our girlfriends or whatever, and we hear them upstairs. We're about a quarter of a block away, and we hear, "Thank you, good night," and we're like, "Shit!" And we're all running with our guitars, and we're blasting up these stairs, going, "More, more! God damn it, more!" You know, we're trying. We just wanted to hear them, you know. We never got to hear them. Oh man, yeah. So that's what happens when you're too big for your britches. You miss out on all the good stuff. Man.
Fashionably late.
But that was James Forey and Paul Quigg, I guess, was in that group.
No, he went into that.
That was later.
It was David Townsend and Pat Conley
Pat Conley on guitar, yeah.
and Doug Townsend
Doug
on
Townsend,
drums.
yeah, the Townsend brothers. And
The late great Doug Townsend.
this is another thing they don't get credit for. The Infants was another one of those offshoot bands from Arlington. Those same guys.
Oh yeah.
They went into DJs one day. It was just like this dive bar over on Greenville, and said, "Hey man, do you mind if like me and our friends come play a punk rock show here?" And the owner's Dolores Nolly goes, "Okay, you know, Thursday. Okay, cool." So they packed the place because every punk in Dallas in that specific point in time knew every punk in Dallas at that specific time. That was like 250 people who was watching each other's backs to keep from getting the crap beat out of them from everybody around town. You know, it was a scary part of the time. Well, these guys are going to find a club that will actually let them play, show up with all their friends. That day, Dolores is going, "Oh, this is interesting." They go, they start calling their friends bands, all of us bands, and going like, "Hey, we found this place we can play on Thursday night." She goes, "Screw it, we're a punk band, we're a punk club from now on. This is it. DJs is now the punk club," and that's how it got started. She's passed away now, but that was the big solid bit, and it's like that was just because the Infants just happened to go to the
And
right
she
place.
was with Jack Ruby. She was one of his gals.
Uh-huh. Yeah, back in the day.
Yeah.
I think that was before us, right?
But in
Some
early
of us.
'77, Bob became one of my customers when I was at Peaches Records, and so we got to be friends. And
He invited me to a show. Says, "Yeah, there's a band playing. You might want to check him out." You didn't mention he was in the band. You know.
so yeah, and
Well, he wanted you to come.
yeah, right. I didn't want to scare you off. Yeah, right.
Ah, yes,
Yeah. But so then you know, Bob became a friend of the band, and then what happened, Bob?
I was
started
at all the
taping
shows.
every show.
Yeah, I taped every show. I was at every show and all that kind of stuff. And then Clark Wacker, who was playing after Pierre Thompson, he was bass player, right? He was telling the band at Fanny Ann's, "This is, you know, my life is just kind of upside down right now. I don't know what's going on. I need to quit the band. You know, I'll give you a month to find someone." And I'm going, Really? I could probably play
month?
bass.
I can learn-
I could probably play bass. It's only 4 strings. How hard can it be? And so I started learning, and I approached Mike about it, and he did this kind of classic, walking backwards, crossing arms over in front of it, because they were going to go back to Pierre, from what I understand, pretty much.
I don't know if we had a plan. but
Oh, okay,
there was a plan.
okay,
Yeah, I don't
okay.
think we had a real plan
Yeah,
there.
but anyway, so I started practicing, and then Clark was late for Manhattan Clearinghouse thing, and I just sat in on the sound check, and everybody's going, huh?
Yeah, this sounds fine. You got to figure Manhattan Clearinghouse doesn't get its just due. It was where was it? Main Street and
Main and Exposition.
Exposition. And second story, and it was a theater upstairs. And while we were playing, somebody rolls out a 4-poster bed into the middle of the mosh pit. Back then it was just a pit, and completely crumbled it down to nothing. Well, Francine, this girl I met later, has been writhing around on the floor with broken bottles and stuff in the pit, and just gashes herself. She's just cut bad, and I don't know this girl, and she comes up and starts smearing blood all over my face. While I'm playing guitar, I'm sitting there, and she's like smearing blood all over me. Like, this is just interesting. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this before. Now that was with you, right? Manhattan Clearinghouse.
Hard to say.
One of the things. Hi, how you doing?
I think that was
Safe
still Clark.
trips. Hope
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
work.
Clark
That
was
was
playing.
Clark was still
Check
on
that
bass.
front gear, buddy.
Yeah, Clark was instrumental in getting the Sex Pistols gig.
Not instrumental. It was one man.
Yeah.
Clark
Yeah.
Blacker.
Yeah.
The
Clark
Ramones and
Blacker.
the Sex Pistols, yeah.
Yes,
sure.
Clark Blacker. When he was, I didn't like him. He was like somebody's dad in the band.
He
he's
could
just
talk.
like, yeah. But he's like, he always had like the same white bitch T-shirt, shoulder length hair, and a big grandpa mustache, and a white jacket and white pants. And I'm like, dude, we're a punk band, But when he heard that the Ramones were coming, I remember the Sex Pistols basically. So when he heard about the Sex Pistols, he calls up the club that they're going to play, and they went, "Oh yeah, that's Stone City Attractions in New York." So he got on the phone and he just called them. This is just unheard of. He just calls up Stone City and goes, "Hi, I represented Metal and Nervebreakers in Dallas. We heard you're coming through with the Sex Pistols, and we'd be really good opening act for you." And they went, okay. So he just buffaloed his way through both of those gigs, wasn't it?
Yeah,
he just
basically,
just made those happen.
Just talked us into it.
himself. Yeah. And he's like, and if you act like you know what you're doing, people will go for it. But Clark is the one that really put us on the map.
yeah, absolutely.
By doing that.
Yep.
That was amazing.
Yep.
And he later went on to be the guitarist in Stickmen with Ray Gun.
Yep.
Yeah, with Bobby Socks and all. all
That was my favorites because after I got my picture in Rolling Stone in 78, when they took that picture at the Sex Pistols show, somebody threw a dead fish at the stage. I bit it in half, and Clark went, "That's just crass sensationalism." Crass sensationalism. I went, "It worked." And
Well, he didn't like My Girlfriend Is a Rock either.
Yeah, he thought My Girlfriend Is a Rock was
a bad idea.
was a novelty song. That you shouldn't
But then he
feature
goes,
that.
from a crass sensationalist fish biting guy, he goes into a guy who puts wig heads and drumsticks and shoves them up his ass.
Well, he finally
or pisses on people on stage. That's not crass sensationalism.
He came over to the dark side eventually. That's right.
Yeah. Apparently, he got lured over to the dark side. For us, he was like granny glasses and shag haircut. Man, let me sing Sex Pistols. Man, let me be an anarchist. Shut up. So he followed us for a while before he finally got his band
And
together.
one night I went, "Come on up and sing."
Yeah. And he does a good Johnny Rotten, I must admit. But Clark.
Like out of the old bands, like what are some of those bands that you got, the local bands that start popping up?
Oh, around that time, so you got it from our angle. We had the Toys kind of stayed in there pretty much.
Yeah, the Toys get overlooked also.
Yes.
But
they were a little more glam.
Yes, they were a glam
They were
band,
glam.
but they're kind of forgotten.
Yeah, and there was great groups. But it's like the ones that were coming up for us, you got the guys, what you're talking about from where the Scuds came from, and then Mike Vomit and the Vomit Pigs came from Dangerfield.
Yeah.
And pretty much came out here. And then the Infant guys and
Dot Faith was which?
Arlington? No,
No, one of those.
Hurst, Bedford, Euless.
Yeah, up there in that.
My hometown.
Yeah.
The telephones were real popular. They did
Yeah.
real well.
E equals MC squared.
Yeah, they're
Oh yeah, they changed it.
Oh,
telephones
you got
and
the
vomit
VVV
pigs.
guys.
Like you said.
You got the
And
VVV
then
guys.
Superman's
Schema-
girlfriend.
Schematics
Yeah.
and
What was Superman's girlfriend like?
That was Jim Neighbors on lead vocals, and then Aaron Humphreys doing vocals with him, and that's where she first got her start because she's like Doug's girlfriend. And they said, no, let's just do this dual thing, Sonny and Cher go to hell kind of a thing. And so it was Jim. He was a theatrical. He still is a theatrical genius. He would just come up with the stuff off the top of his head. I remember going to see.
Well, he was
I think it
Dot Baith. They were
Yes.
kind of the extension after the Infants
Yes.
of Dot Baith because they had the Townsend brothers and
It was without Pat
and,
Carter and other ones,
and,
same
and
guys.
Jim Neighbors, yeah, on vocals, and then that's when Paul Quigg showed up.
Yeah, but I remember going to see them at, I think it was at
And James.
at the Twilight Room. Yeah, James Flory. At the Twilight Room, I think it was, where they said they were billing the show as live birth on stage, and I went, okay, live birth on stage. Yeah, this is, I mean, I'm into that kind of stuff. And I went and he had right before the show started, he smeared himself with Caro syrup and red paint, and then rolled into a ball, and they wrapped him up in cellophane and rolled him out into the center stage, and he just rides out of this thing. It was brilliant. I mean, it's like he said, we're wearing a diaper and sang the set. It was great. But I just love that kind of stuff. There was so much weirdness going on at that particular point in time. You got with Joe Christ and the Healing Faith. We met when we were playing in Tulsa, was it? It's like, and he was just like, he was just basically in for if you can gross people out, you'll get attention, and it worked for him very well. But I mean, he had to think. I remember going to see him, and he had got a pinata and filled it full of beef tripe. But by the time the show started, it was all leaking anyway, and the club was throwing him out. Who else, band-wise, club-wise?
What about like early? What about BBV Records and like
Yeah.
early like record stores?
Well, that's what we're talking about. Is the guys that were in. What was his first group? NCM, Non Campos Mentos.
Yeah.
Was
Neil Caldwell was VVV.
and Randy. And
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But Neil was
Yeah.
VVV.
Yeah.
And
he was lead singer and bass player.
yeah,
for
he started
NCM.
at like he had a small record store. It was like a block from my house. So I worked at Peaches Records, as my normal job, and then on my day off, I'd go hang out at his store. Yeah,
all
makes
right. Start off
perfect
with-
sense, right? But
Did it start off as reggae?
yeah, because
'Cause
he would bring in the imports from Jamaica that I couldn't get anywhere else. I could have got them through Peaches, but anyway, so I was spending all my money at his store and hanging out. So then he kind of grew from there, and his band started playing, had his band.
Was NCM the first one?
Where was the schematics?
Schematics
Schematics
was what they were first,
Okay.
and then they went through some changes, and it became NCM, which was more straight ahead punk rock, whereas before that they had been kind of ska, reggae, rock sort of, or something.
Surf.
Yeah.
They had a surf song.
Surf, yeah, it was a little it was
Which
cool.
was weird back then.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Nobody was doing
yeah.
surf.
Yeah. Now, who was David Hill playing for? Was it those guys?
Yeah,
He was in
well,
NCM.
NCM, because it was
NCM,
Cliff
okay.
in the schematics that had been in the toys.
Hoo
Cliff,
Boy.
Cliff
Yeah,
Martin.
yeah,
put
The
out.
Boys then was
Yeah,
in,
I asked him on Facebook about that. It says, "Did you go by Food Boy?" Says, "Well, no one
Not
ever
on
called me
purpose.
that to my face."
yeah, so the VVV label kind of just grew from that because he had his store grew, and then he had the label grew, and he started working with other bands like the Telephones and
Was Bobby on that or not?
I believe maybe so. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
and also it's like he had Marcia and Curtis had Stacks and
Hawkins.
Tracks
Yes.
Right.
over on Greenville, right down the street from DJ's, and that was a really influential record store at the time too. When you could actually go to record stores, they were
Yeah.
cool.
It was a different world.
Ron Ross had one, and he still does.
He still does.
Yeah, Ron Ross is still got.
And
his.
Ron Ross was a big photographer of ours.
That's right.
Yeah, he's
He did a
got
lot.
hundreds of slides that
We haven't seen.
we haven't seen yet.
Anytime you throw direction, you can do that. Just
But yeah,
we'll meander.
Talk about like any memories you have, maybe of Twilight Room or theater gallery, those type of venues. Like,
Theater
Theater
Gallery
Gallery is
was
way
after
late.
us.
That's way later.
Yeah.
When I had my band, we played Theater Gallery. I remember it's like one of the things about Theater Gallery is that we would always have to go in early so we could squeegee the water off the floor if it rained, because it'd be just soaking wet. And that's what Jeff Lyles was as a little kid, And I remember we opened for the Circle Jerks there, and they had the roof was just naked rafters. And while I'm playing, I looked up and I see this guy start from the balconies and crawls his way over the pit in the ceiling and just does his stage dive from there, just blam, And I had stopped, going, "Bravo, dude, bravo!" They caught him, Usually they don't; they just let you hit the ground. But so my favorite. Did you guys ever get to go to that place that was over on Grand, the Major Theater? That was much later. Okay.
I was out of town then.
Yeah. This is one of my favorite memories of seeing all the old punk rockers finally getting together for a show there, and we're all sitting in theater chairs, and the band start playing, and the mosh pit starts, and you see all these old bastards going, "Yeah!" We just start back up like three or four rows. I'm not going to see that.
Been there already.
Yeah, I don't need that. So
Yeah, the Nervebreakers scattered to the winds at different times. He went to North Carolina, California, and I don't know, where did you go? Austin,
Atlanta.
Georgia.
Atlanta,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Round Rock.
when we hooked up with Rocky
Yeah,
Erickson, this
Did he
bizarre
play with
thing.
Rocky Erickson in
Yeah,
Austin.
it was this
Yeah.
weird thing.
Yeah.
It was like, our manager at the time, Tom Orden, who was another one who buffaloed stuff through. Well, he just hooked up with Rocky's wife, I guess, and like hooked us-
Manager.
Hooked up with
Yeah.
Rocky's wife.
Well, I know. Yeah.
So,
Well, rephrase that.
it's not a sexual connotation, you perv.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyways,
Tom was-
I hope
was
Lori
friends
doesn't
with-
hear about that.
Yeah,
Tom
they-
was friends with Craig, who was the
Man-
Rocky's manager.
Okay, well, but they just like mailed him to us like baggage. They just put him on a bus and shipped him up here, and we were going like basically, hey, listen, we'll learn some of your songs and we'll open for you as the Nervebreakers, and then we'll be your backing band. And they go, okay, so this guy shows up who's just like any homeless person you've ever seen. He
This
had
guy is stumbling
beard
around
down to
looking,
here, hair down to here, chain smoking, like just it's like whoa. So
I think
the
that's
first,
Rocky
The
over
first
there,
time
yeah.
we saw him was at rehearsal. Is that the Palladium at that
Yeah,
point?
Palladium.
Yeah, it was like
And
sound check.
we- yeah, the sound check. And we said, okay, Rocky, we got to go through some songs. And he's like, okay. So they put a guitar on him. And he said, what did I play? And he goes, Bermuda, I think. So we started to practice with. So he goes, dun, dun, dun. And he just looks at me and goes, what's the third chord? And I went, well, Rocky, you wrote him. He goes, I know. Okay, so I just showed Rocky how to play his songs.
Like you haven't done that since.
Oh, I still do it. Yeah, I totally understand now. But it's like, so I taught Rocky how to play his songs.
Didn't miss.
But after we did that a couple of times, and he played with us as DJs a couple of times, and we kept finding him asleep in our dressing room all the time, and at different places we'd be playing, there would be Rocky on the floor. Carl hooked up, and you went on tour with him, didn't you?
Yeah.
Well, but that was after the Explosives hooked up, wasn't it? Didn't he
Yeah.
do the Explosives for a while, and then you came in?
Yeah.
With Brian Curley.
Right. Brian Curley and
What was the name of that?
Jimmy Jones.
Aliens?
It was
No?
the
No.
Resurrectionists.
Resurrection.
But you did that for a while, didn't you?
Yeah, we did that for a while.
like
a
what,
year,
80?
Yeah, I was thinking
year
it
and a
was-
half,
yeah,
something like
yeah.
that.
I was thinking you were on the road for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rocky's an interesting guy. It was for me. It was like that was a big deal because the first song I remember playing, besides "Love Is All Around," in my darkened bedroom as a kid with just my amp light, looking in the mirror, imagining throngs of, hordes of fans, was playing Rocky Erickson's "You're Gonna Miss Me" song, and to actually be playing, it's like we had. One of the reviews had come about the band from Texas, the Nervebreakers, said there are no 34 elevators, but then again, who is? And then we started going, you know what? We are now, kind of, aren't we? So that was
Close as it
kinda
gets.
cool. And that was just great for me to be able to. I mean, for all of us,
it's
all
like,
of us. It was
yeah,
an honor,
you're kidding,
man, to
man,
play
it's
with Rocky
great.
Erickson.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. All right, next.
Are there any like some of the early bands that you remember, like you go on experience, or any?
Remember those guys?
Those guys were from Austin, weren't they?
No.
No.
What was the guy, the lead singer?
They're like really young kids. That was kind of about '82 or something. That was when Mike and I had a band, Tex and the Saddle Tramps.
Okay, yeah.
We had like a rockabilly band after the Nervebreakers, and we're on the Steel Rock cassette. That this guy Rocky, what was Rocky's last name?
Paulson?
I don't know, but put out, and yeah, Hugh Beaumont's on there, and Saddle Tramps,
Did you
and
guys like hang out like at Bar Soap or some way place where like not as Nervebreakers, but just as like
No, it was
I
at
lived
those.
there.
and he was
Wait, yeah,
like,
it's-
lived right around the corner.
I've opened for every one of those things. It's like I opened the Twilight Room, first band to play the Twilight Room, first band to play Circle A, first band to play Bar Soap, first band to play, it's like Very Good Combo, or the Yeah was the first band to play all those places. So yeah, I lived at Bar Soap. The best things at that period of time, that's so much later though. I mean, what's it, 90s? I lived down there. I lived down there and had
opened
a.
in '86 or something.
Yeah, because it's like when I moved down there, and it's like I was there '88 to '98, and I had like my art gallery, a skate rental shop, and a guitar repair shop called the Odd Shop, and then Expo Rock and Roll. So yeah, that was the kitchen and the laundry room for me. I just lived there. But it was the same guys. Charlie Gilder basically started in the Twilight Room. Sold, according to him, sold his '55 Chevy to some lesbians, a couple of lesbians, to get the seed money to start the Twilight Room. And then took that money and sucked it out and went and started Bar Soap with Steve Asbeck, his buddy his, and they started that.
You know where else he got his money? I worked at a market research place up at LBJ in Midway, and there was a little hot dog stand, drive-through hot dog stand.
Doghouse.
And that's where, the doghouse, and that's where I first met Charlie.
Steve was there too.
Because on my break, when I'd go out for lunch, I'd pull up there and get a chili dog, and he'd go, "Oh, you're in the Nervebreakers, aren't you?" Yeah, I'm saving my money to start a club. Yeah.
That's great. So that was a lot later. But you got down to the Honest Place was a lot later. I don't think you
Well,
guys were around for that.
well,
right?
he wasn't a punk, but Charlie's guitars was a big
Charlie's,
factor in a lot
us.
of you guys.
Yeah, sure. Going
Oh,
back
God.
to the 70s, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we did my solo single with me and Mike and Russell, it was like we did it at the Firehouse Studios with Ron Mason and Charlie Wurz, who was like, he was our mentor for that kind of stuff. He paid for everything and brought the cocaine, to make that record happen. And so it's on Wurz Records. That's the one we did together.
Yeah.
But he was like, he died at 44 or something. That was just devastating to a lot of us. Yeah, that was.
And that was Russell on drums from the Vomit Pigs.
Yes, Russell Fleming.
Russell Fleming, yeah.
Yeah.
Played with
And
us.
the Saddle Tramps.
And Saddle Tramps.
Politics, like what years was that?
Yeah, they're saying that's 79.
79.
79.
just right along
Thereabouts.
there.
Yeah,
They were only together about a year.
They showed up. It's like Ace LaRue and Mike Vomit showed up. They've got a new magazine called Headbanger. The first time I've ever heard, it's like I've looked back and tried to find it on Google, whatever, see where the term came from. Mike, in his Headbanger magazine, had a quote from a medical journal that said they rolled and banged their heads against the wall about some type of crazy people. And that was a quote on this thing, and they started this magazine. Well, their magazine was, we're going to get interviewed. It was just like this. It said, yeah, we're going to meet you for your interview. We'll be over at Mike's apartment, and we'll be there at this time. Okay, cool. So this girl comes over and just, hi, here. And gives us all a questionnaire. And we're like,
Fill this out.
okay, so you can get back to me whenever you can. We're like, okay. Why do we all need to be in the same room for this? And so the magazine comes out. It's kind of cool, Headbanger magazine. But it was like, if you wanted copies of Headbanger magazine, you had to go to Mike's apartment over on Douglas Street, and with a stapler, and we'd have to staple the magazines together ourselves. Because I want a couple of copies. Okay, well there's 15 sheets here. This is for shit. So you have to go there and staple them. Magazines together for yourself.
Serve yourself.
That was another thing that didn't really get its due was magazines, fanzines, local zines. Tom had one called Dirt that was pretty cool. I started one called 50-50 that was half bullshit, half hype. Did one, I said, if you ever listen to anybody's opinion and you're ever swayed by that, then you're ruined. So here's the first issue, we'll do the first issue. Now whoever does the next issue, good luck with that. So of course it died immediately. But there were some interesting zines. What we got? That was Headbanger, Dirt. You did more than one
Sluggo
issue.
was at
Sluggo.
Austin.
Yeah. But you did more than one issue of Dirt, didn't you? You did
I think two.
2 issues. Yeah. Yeah. Our journeys into literature didn't really pan out as well as we thought.
Now, it seemed like the Headbanger or one of those was all unique. Every copy of it was unique because it was like pasted together.
Yeah, there's mimeographed.
Well, that was Memory. Well, there was one I thought that was just kind of thrown together like art, But I sold a bunch to
Ryan
Richardson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Collects a lot of stuff.
Okay, so clubs, and let me see. Yeah, most of the stuff that you get into.
What about the Hot Club?
Losers Club?
Yeah,
The
there's-
obvious hot club, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for us,
That's pretty
actually, we
obvious.
did really well at the Palladium.
Yeah.
Which was
Big.
who was booking us there?
That's like Mark Lee and Danny Eaton.
Yeah, Mark and Danny. Yeah.
So that's and then they started the Hot Club after
Right.
And
they
that's who
quit booking that.
AEG is Danny Eaton. That's who Danny Eaton is. AEG now.
He's
freaking huge.
doing really well now.
But that was
yeah.
who was booking us at his little club.
Yeah, so they were booking us at the Palladium in '79 mostly, and we doing really well because they booked us with the Police and of course with Roky Erickson
And Clash.
and the Clash.
Boomtown Rats.
And so basically they were, but it was great. They were booking us for every new wave or punk band that was coming through at that time, because there was no other venue that was big enough for those bands, and so that was great. But then that club got sold to
Somebody.
to another. It was the Palladium, and then it was the Agora. The Agora bought the Palladium. So at that point, they went and started the Hot Club, because they didn't have a venue, So then, from then on, it was, which would have been '80. It was the Hot Club was kind of the main venue, and
Because DJs had kind of.
DJs was still open for a while,
Yeah.
but
But it was fizzling out
It was
there,
kind of
yeah.
definitely took the down.
We have to mention.
Definitely took the the down.
We have to mention that the racetrack festival for
Green Valley Raceway.
No, Yellow Belly.
Yellow Belly. DJ's New Wave Retreat.
Yes.
I kept telling her, she was going, yeah, I'm going to rent this drag strip. I said, dude, punks want to commune with concrete, not nature.
It's not a
we
nature
don't want to
thing.
go out there and be nature boys and have picnics. That's not what we do.
I don't know if there was anyone there who was not in a band, to
Yeah,
actually
she
attend.
lost her ass. Listen, all I remember about that is like that was when everybody was really scared of Bobby, and Bobby came up and spit something on me when I walked in the gate, And I dropped my guitar and I chased his ass down, and he's just running through the crowd, and I just tackled him. And it's like I remember sitting on his chest and pouring his Dr. Pepper in his face, completely. It's like, and from then on, it was like, man, Barracuda's all right, man, kick my ass. This is like Mongo shit.
And that was where the Scuds had the fight on stage.
Oh, that's right.
And their bass player, Clyde Koch, jumped in his pickup truck and hit 2 or 3 cars as he sped out and left, while the rest of the band's still on stage.
Yeah, there's some days.
Yeah. But we played the first night of the festival because then the next night was the Clash. She had the misfortune of booking her festival, but didn't realize that it was going to be the same weekend as the Clash were in town. So, so you're kind of splitting your audience, which didn't help her out either with the festival. But
we had some gigs that we were in Fort Worth the early part of the evening, and Dallas the second part.
Oh, that's
vice
right.
versa.
Yeah, we had 3 in one day one time, man. This is my favorite. It's like when we always had the second dressing room in the Palladium, and it was nice. And whatever riders that the band had, we got. So we go in there and like there'd be a big old thing full of beer and a deli tray. We'd be like, yeah, we're rocking now. And I remember when we opened for the Police, they were touring. It was the first tour, and they had a station wagon and a U-Haul trailer, and they were moving their own equipment. Mm-hmm. And I remember it's like Sting comes backstage. I just had my picture in Rolling Stone, so it's international publicity. He comes like, Barry, you gonna do the Fish tonight? And I'm like, oh, who are you bit bastard? And he's like, oh, I'm Sting. I'm like, oh, cool. One name like Cher. Yeah, I like that. It's kind of neat. So it's like, then I come back and we're tuning. Remember, we're tuning our guitars in the hallway.
Yeah, they'd never seen this.
A Con strobe tuner, which is state of the art. Carl got it. And this thing is like, so I'm tuning my guitar, and I come back and go, what are you doing? So I'm tuning my guitar. So it's me and Sting, and what's the guitar player's name? Andy Summers.
Summers.
Yeah.
We're sitting in the hall. I'm showing them how to use this Con strobe tuner, And they open and close the set with Roxanne.
Yeah, because they didn't have any other songs.
No,
yet.
they didn't have anything. But they were just
they played the album, and then they just played
and
Roxanne
they were great.
again.
They were great. And the sweetest guys in the world. But that was one of my favorite rock star things, is because the next time, the closest I've been to Sting since was sweeping the stage out front before he got on. You remember that guy? Nah. That rock star crap goes right out the window, man. It's like, nope.
What do you think about growing up in Dallas and starting being a punk rocker in the South, in Dallas, Texas, as opposed to people in New York and LA back at that time?
It wasn't as progressive. I remember him when we did the Ramon show. It was a zoo-free Sunday, so it was 98 cent long necks and a bunch of progressive country cowboys. Every punk in Dallas in the front 2 rows. That was it. And the crowd got meaner and meaner all the way back. Bottles are flying. And I remember Tom saying something to the effect of, yeah, no matter how much you hate us, it can compare it all to how much we detest you. And I'm like, oh boy, here
Probably
we go.
not the right thing to say.
Yeah.
Glad we didn't get beat up that night.
That's right. Made for lively.
What was the thing at Mother Blues when you ran into Tom and Tom was dressed, wild? Or
Oh, that was Gertie's.
Oh, that was Gertie's.
That was also in the Army at that time. But yeah, that was. I went to. We went to see the
Dolls?
Was it the Dolls or was it? It was Werewolves.
Werewolves
and the
and
Dolls.
the Werewolves open.
Yeah, and I was like, I was still in the Army at that point. I had my little dangling earring. I had red eye makeup out to a point, and you're still in the Army. I got no shirt and a velour, a corduroy suit with no shoes. And everybody in the place, man, I remember they were just staring at me going, oh, Jesus Christ, I don't know if I can stand this. All of a sudden, I feel the tension shift, and he hits me on the shoulder, goes, hey, man. I turn around, and he's got his normal clothes for you at that point. It was really tight satin pant, satin shirt, and slacks. But he had taken a Esquire magazine, I think, and any ad that looked pertinent or interesting to him had cut him out and written blood and dead on them in red marks a lot, and then just pinned them completely, just sheathed and it's like, you gotta do that again. Good, I'm not the weirdest guy here. Okay, good.
Oh, everybody does that.
I know.
It's kinda,
Back then, it was
kinda
pretty
over,
damn
yeah.
weird. It's like, yeah, that was interesting. So it's like I felt very much more at home knowing that someone else was much stranger.
Well, yeah, a
than
lot
me.
about the Nervebreakers, was just all the outcasts and misfits that didn't fit in with anyone else.
Yeah, there's a lot of fatties in our group.
just kind of clustered together.
But the question's about violence. How about, was it in Arlington where your brother got the?
Oh, that's true. But yeah.
Beaver or something.
We were playing. Man, I cannot think of the name of the club. I've been trying to figure out the name of the club, but
something Beaver something.
it actually it did get a
That's Fort Worth.
Yeah. This was over in Arlington, and I don't know. It's somehow apparently my brother was roadieing with us, and so.
And working the door.
Yeah.
Well, there was a guy at the door. I guess maybe the bouncer or something was telling people who came to the door. He was going, "This band sucks. You shouldn't come in. You don't come in and see him." So my brother was going, "Hey, what the hell? What are you doing?" So my brother gets into it with the staff of the club. So they punch it out apparently, and
Yeah, he was pretty bloody.
and it was
He got a bottle broken on his
head.
head.
yeah. Okay, well there you go. So yeah, there was some violence there, and
that was
You guys got the Rock Against Reagan thing?
Yeah. Oh, it's just,
When was that? That was late.
That was at the
I think
Twilight
I was
Room.
gone by
Yeah,
then.
that was way long. But that was across. I remember across the street where the Observer Building is now, or was across the street from there. The CIA or somebody, I can't remember who it was. One of the major things was videotaping through the windows at the club there.
Yeah. Find out who that guy is.
It was like, go pick that guy up. Yeah.
no, that wasn't at Zeros, was it by any chance?
Well, I think it was like a festival outside, where they were having a big convention, like the Dead Kennedys playing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'm not familiar
Yeah.
with that then. Okay, all right. I'm thinking of something else.
Yeah, because I remember
Right across from the.
that was the first time I ran into Jello.
I didn't live here at that time.
Yeah, because I was in Austin or LA or something. You were in
Yeah,
North
so
Carolina.
it was right. That was pretty interesting. But yeah, Jello was kind of. I just met him so I didn't really get to talk to him until '96 when I did that show with Ministry. But yeah, they were pushing that thing pretty hard. I mean, he was very politically minded.
Yeah, the Nervebreakers had scattered to the winds, and then every 5 years or so, Fly Killers or Dallas Observer, somebody would have an event, and they kind of throw some money at us. We say, okay, yeah, we'll play. And so, that went on for
My
years.
favorite, the only time I ever got to play at the Bronco Bowl. One of the best places to go see a band, man. I just love that place. It's so damn cool. And we played a Fly Killer party there.
Yeah, there's a video.
That was the last Fly
video
Killer
of that,
party, I
too.
think.
Really?
I believe it was.
We ran it into the ground.
Not.
Cornflake Killers played one in Oak Cliff when I first moved back, like 90 or 91.
We
But
just
the,
don't
but the
get
Bronco
invited
Ball was like
anymore.
'94, I think.
Oh, that was
Yeah,
after.
93
Oh,
or
no, it was the.
yeah,
Okay, okay, never mind.
yeah.
You're right.
I think it
No,
was the last
I'm
one.
all
Yeah.
turned around then.
Yeah.
When did they
Let's
tear
go
the
back for
Bronco
a
Bowl?
second for whenever you guys recorded. My girlfriend is a rock, so what were you recording that for? Did you just write for your record?
Carl wrote it. Tell us, Carl.
Well,
I had to arrange it.
He was working on a song for like a year, and then this song came to him like overnight. And
Yeah,
he just wrote it
about 10
down
minutes.
in one. fast.
yeah, well, I was working on one song that was really serious song about a guy that is in Egypt and falls in love with the Sphinx. And I worked on this song for a long time, and it had some really cool chord changes and stuff in it. I was a music major,
Yeah, he
so
did
I was
things
throwing in
9/8
everything that I
time
was
and stuff
learning.
like that,
So and then I brought it to these guys, and they said,
That was me.
That's not too good." And so I was so pissed off, I went, "Well, damn it!" So I just went and wrote this song, "My Girlfriend Is a Rock," and whipped it out in
It was
about
perfect.
10 minutes.
It was perfect.
And they said, "Oh,
No,
man,
it's
that sounds pretty good."
When he brought it to me, it was like he goes like, "Hey, here, check this out." It was like a little melodic at some point. Dude, this is a goddamn rock song from hell, man. What's it here? So we just pounded out this thing, when the band going, "No, this is not a melodic, nice piece. This is a grinder." It's
And
just
I
like-
figured,
but it
we
had
broke
melody.
a string, we
It
could
does have
play it
melody,
or
that's very
something
good
like that, just kind of a filler song, okay,
Yeah.
simple
It'll
song.
never. We never assumed that was going to be the song.
Yeah, Clark Blacker, he
never-
said, I don't care what you do with this song. He helped produce, all the other tracks of the first one. He said, you can do whatever you want in that. I don't really care about
Yes,
that.
but as far as the songs I like to play, that was my favorite. Always been my favorite.
And then that turned out to be a big fret party song,
Yeah.
and that's what really broke it.
It's like,
Did the
what?
Frat
with all
rock?
the-
Well, I mean, I've heard bands do covers of it. Like when I was living in North Carolina, there were bands that I didn't know me from Adam, didn't know nothing,
Mike and the
but they were
Mechanics,
covering my girlfriend's. I mean, bands that you guys haven't even heard of, but they were big in Carolina.
Yeah, so that thing is,
It's kind of got a life of its own.
It's just the million-selling record that made us no money. It's
Yeah.
amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, well.
Frat parties always have a bad taste in my mouth after playing that.
Ooh, bad taste in your mouth. We're going for innuendo. Let's use that.
We played
Frat
it.
parties.
we
I wake up and I have a bad taste in my mouth every time I go to a frat party.
I don't understand it.
My butthole hurts.
Okay, we're gonna end on that.
Okay. Good luck with that.
That's right. That's